Hi, mindful partners, and welcome to another episode of Mindfully with Tumishi. This conversation is quite personal to me. It is. I sit with my youngest brother, and let's just say it was a very therapeutic conversation. It was very therapeutic for me to see my life through his eyes and how he was able to navigate and still navigating the story of our origin. Enjoy this conversation with Bisolua Ayamide Paul Omokpele. I am Uluwatumishi Oladapo Kuku. Hi, mindful partners, and welcome to another episode of Mindfully with Tumishi. This year have had lots and lots of interesting conversations, and this particular conversation is one that, well, you've heard of Tumishi, and you know that you know some parts of my story. So, or stories, you're going to hear from an insider outsider. Today, I call him Skonkolo. Yeah. And he's here with me today, my youngest brother. This conversation is about to get interesting. Bisolua Paul Ayomide Omopeleye. Welcome to Mindfully to me.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, maybe we should start this differently. Do you have a question for me?
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this particular chat?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited am I about this chat? I think it's going to be, for me, I think it's going to be reflective. And then I also think it's going to give me some insight on some things I do not know, not just about you, but about our family and how we grew up.
Fair enough. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so that's what I think. So, let me remind. Okay, so for those who are listening, Bisalu again is my youngest brother, and there's quite a bit of gap between us. And let me tell you, I remember the day you were born. I know it sounds very, but let's start from there. I remember the day you were born. I was sweeping the children's sitting room. At least you remember, you remember that. I was sweeping the children's sitting room, and Tony Adeniji, yeah,
Toy, now in the UK.
in Canada, Tony Adeniji comes to me and says that,
Sorry, Uncle Toy.
and says that mommy has had a baby and all of that, and we're also preparing for me to go to a Abakaliki at the time, and you were born exactly 7 days to my birthday. Your naming ceremony was on my birthday, and the next day I went to Abakaliki. My most memorable memory of you was when I got back that first term. You, of course, you can't remember, but when I got back that first term, you were about 3 months in April. You're about 3 months, and I came in, and it was as if you'd known me all your 3 months. And of course, you were my back. That's my most precious memory of you that day, because I felt like, okay, you were born, there was no ceremony, I went to school, and and somehow I think I feared that I would not be connected with you and to you. And that particular day when we got back home, the way you jumped at me, mind you, no phone, nothing. We're talking 1990s, early 90s. I'm not going to say more than that. Early 90s.
Well.
So that is my most memorable of you. What's yours?
Of you, I would say for me, so there was a day I went to school, came back, You can't remember this. I have a very good memory.
Yeah, go away.
Fabi can tell you that. Anyways,
Yeah.
then I two memories. Two memories for me. The first one. So mom, see, I think I did something from school, and the typical thing was, once she was used to flog me, she just said, "You want?" To me, she handle this. Then he took me to the room. Why did you do that? And he just gave me like 2 strokes of a cane on my arm. You know?
I did.
Yeah, now.
And then what did I do after
A
that?
little bit, it was a little bit more painful because I didn't expect this from
Me.
you know. Then the other one was at the shop opposite the White House.
Okay.
Those days now, White House. So I think you were taking a bottle of Coke, and I wanted to, and you said no.
And I didn't give you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was also a point to learn that you couldn't. I felt for me, my earliest memories were memories of getting disciplined properly. You know, getting pointed in the right direction. That's for me, really.
Okay.
So I remember it that way. Good memories. Other ones were memories of biscuit and all, but let's just keep that.
Okay, so let's talk about the age gap. Now, this guy is almost 12 years younger than I am. But
He's not almost 70.
He's not 12 years complete. Okay, so you've spoken about the discipline part, right? So this age difference, do you think it shaped our roles as siblings?
Definitely. It's I was telling Fabi that the way I'm speaking with Arife and Jola is almost very similar with how it was with you, because the age difference is very delicate. You having input without knowing. You're having influence without knowing. So for example, one of the biggest influence from the age difference for me was music.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, music, whether it's rap, hip hop,
Rock.
reggae, rock, gospel, country, classic, it was direct influence from my siblings. I understand music from them. I like music from what they liked. So that is why for me, music influencing me is very intentional. So that's why I can't listen to some Bang Bang Dini, because it's not going to. I don't want to call it anything, so we don't trend for the wrong things. But music for me, and the funny thing is, you guys wouldn't have known, but your music reflected and that's why it's good to be the last born. You're very observant.
You say it's good to
yes,
be
now
last born.
your music reflected where you guys were at every point of your life.
Fair.
So I might have been young, but I could understand.
I
could understand. Your music reflected exactly where you were at every point. For example, I remember a day Asha's first album came out around the time Yanu died. So Budakore would play that album every night.
Okay, so for those who don't know, just in case you hear things like Bakorede, Antumishe,
yes. So Budakore would play that album almost every night. And from the bank, so he plays the whole album. That's the problem. From beginning to the end. When it stops, he wakes up and starts again. So music, so that's one of the memories. That's one of, I think, the effects of, and the other effect of the age difference for me is perspective. It gives you perspective differently. For example, I'm able to relate with adults better than my peers. I'm able to, what they say in Yoruba, most people call me Omo Agba because it's as if
you're older than you,
yes,
your age. Okay.
Typically.
And does that cause any friction between you and your peers?
Definitely, because we see things quite differently. I've seen a lot. I've learned more from the experience of people in front of me. So, for example, I wouldn't do something because I've seen others do it. I'm not calling anybody's name. I've seen others do it. I've seen them learn from it. They've talked to me about it, And so that is what my peers, that's what they're doing. So I've learned, it's as if I wasn't acting my age per time.
Okay. Of course, we're going to get into deeper conversations. Of course, we just talked about the loss of our brother. We're going to talk about loss. We're going to talk about upbringing, and let's start from upbringing. Yeah. Okay. So what's your define? Of course, the way I was raised, definitely different than the way I was raised. Like, so different. Because I remember, I think it was when I came back from JESH for the JESH 3 holidays, and you wanted to watch TV. We were all watching TV. We all wanted to change the Sesame Street Super Ted. We were watching Sesame Street. Wanted to change the Super Ted. And myself, Korede, Iyanu sat down and waiting. And Bisola just goes like, "What are you guys waiting for?" And he goes to change it. And I remember Korede and I holding our brother. Oh, mommy's getting And my mom just stood up and walked away. So the way you were raised is so different. It's a whole decade and two between us. So the way we were. So what's one defining memory of our upbringing, both from Amagba and Babagba, that has shaped how you see life?
I a lot to pick from. But I think the question is that the defining that has shaped
that has shaped how you see life today
is responsibility. They teach you to take ownership very early in life. Ownership of taking care of the house, ownership of decision making. I mean, I started going to Living Faith Church before my parents. It was a bit of a tussle, but
Yanu started. Well, Korede started actually. Yanu followed. I was the last person.
When you guys went back to school, then we continued.
I was the last person,
Okay, for example, I think my biggest memory, I still told Feby last year. They were going to Jerusalem, I think. Oh no, they were going to one of these NSC conferences. I was 7, they left me at home. And they wrote you guys in school that these guys at home, I was at home for 2 days myself. I was able to pump water myself, put on a gen, put it off. I think, was it Boda Created that came in? I was frying plantain. Okay,
so I can tell you for free that part of their parenting style doesn't change. Mommy would leave Korede and I, and there's just about 24 months between Korede and I, 26 months between Korede and I, and Mommy would leave me with Korede and say, "Well, this is your brother's bottle," and then she goes, and I was less than 2. Well, I was 2 or 3.
I think I was crying. I was crying out my tears.
So I think that part of, and I think, to be honest, some people will see it as neglect, which it was, let's be fair. But to be honest, it did, like you say, teach us how to take accountability and take responsibility, and probably made us too severe children. Like, we're so serious as children and all that. Hey there. Are you ready to start living mindfully and gain clarity in your life? I welcome you to Black Images. This is a lifestyle spa that works to cater to every facet of your daily living, aligning this to the purpose of nurturing health, harmony, and spiritual growth with experiential education in holistic living. How to be part of this community? Very simple. You can start with listening to Mindfully with Tumisha, the podcast. Check out Living Mindfully, a journey to being in, a book that would help you to live mindfully and support your meditation practice. And join our Journey to Clarity package and work with our coach to identify thought patterns that sidetrack you and create solid action plans to empower you to get back on track. At Black Images, we're passionate about mental health awareness and supporting your journey to clarity and self-discovery. Join our community today and start living mindfully.
So actually, from that, taking responsibility amongst proper English, with an English person, my peers, my friends, came naturally. And taking responsibility is not always the person that is in charge. It's not always the person that everybody goes to in a group. Taking responsibility can be salient. It can be obscure. It can be very silent.
I'm the loudest in this one. All of us are introverts, but you see, I should say salient, obscure. Okay, go ahead.
No, yes, because for example, you can take responsibility in a group to make sure that there's peace, and nobody would know. So taking responsibility for me was a major one in upbringing, and the other one is that I felt was. I'm trying to be very, very.
No, don't worry. Go ahead.
I think the other one is that that I learned from both Mama and Bagba is they deliberately imputed their personality in their children. It would be difficult for you to interact with any of them and interact with their children and not know. You would know if you were to see Bagba's children in action. You would know that these are this man's children.
Side note: Babagba is our dad.
Yeah.
Mamagba is our mom.
So if you also see mom's children, you would know that these people were expressing or were. I don't want to say manifesting. Manifesting is
we were manifesting.
Like you're talking about demons, but what I'm saying is okay. Well, that's a major part of who I am. Anyways, we're talking about. So you know that these are these people's children. Once you see them, I think that's also maybe I don't think they were deliberate about it, but it happened that way.
Okay, so I remember you. So let's dip into the deeper parts of this conversation. The dysfunction, the pain, and the ugliness that we grew up in. Of course, when you came, it was a lot better. It was a lot better. And I know you had conversations with Momsi that helped you put these things into perspective. Because, of course, by the time you came, Yanu came and you came, she had evolved and she was refining, I think, the way that she raised children. So, my question to you is, how do you view the dysfunction that we grew up in?
The biggest the biggest disadvantage of a dysfunctional upbringing or household is that you realize it in stages. You never really know. It's just like these are funny, just like this funny stuff they say that if you don't have money, you don't know what crimes you can commit. So you won't really know. For example, I didn't know some dysfunction until I got married. I didn't know some dysfunction until the baby came along. You will know some dysfunctions until you get to
that stage
interact with some family and see how some things are normal and some things that you think were normal actually abnormal. So I would say that the biggest way out of dysfunction, if I take it that way, For parents, I'm a young guy, so parents take it a pinch of salt. The biggest way is not really is knowledge.
When you say knowledge, what is knowledge here?
Is accepting that you can be ignorant. Because you, and that is why you see in Mamagba it was faster than Obagba. Accepting that you didn't know. If you didn't know, now what do you need to know? Work with what you need to know and move forward. Because the earlier you accept your ignorance, the faster you get out of dysfunction. So, for example, if you were to say, if you were to think, I beat the first 2-3 children, and they are still responding this way. Okay, can I talk to the fourth one? Sixth one.
Yeah, so let me explain what he just said there. We were actually 4 children, and we lost 2. We lost Uluwatomilade and we lost Iyanoluwa. So yeah, go ahead.
So it's the ability to accept ignorance at a point in your life and take a deliberate action, to getting knowledge to erase it.
Okay, so you see that it's not only me that has sense. Okay. All right, so I'm your only sister. Well, I don't know whether you're my other one. I'm your only sister. How does that affect knowing the things that you know? Knowing the things that you know about me, and some of the things that I didn't know that you know that I later found out that you knew.
It's part of taking responsibility.
Knowing the things that you know. How does having an older sister, how do you see me? Yeah, okay, yeah. Like that's the question.
Before getting to that, I think I'm an advocate for. I try to say it at the office that I would rather everybody at a stage in their career have a female boss. And the reason why I said that is that the perspective God has given women is a bit unique. But anyways, that's by the way. Let's just leave that for.
Leave that. So yeah, answer the question.
For in case I come next time.
All right, go ahead.
But for having a sister that elder sister that is a bit older, I think you should take it older on your shoulder now. Getting there. Is that you are able to, in most cases, and we cannot really think we're talking about you, so we can't generalize.
Yeah.
So for me, for you, is that you're able to see life through their eyes. I was telling someone at work, because the person was telling me, so they were discussing at work and talking about, you wouldn't know, but those knowledge took me, color of hair, number of, and I was able to mention it. I told them I went everywhere with my sister, to the tailor, to photo shoots, to.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Go ahead.
But okay, let me just be sincere.
Yeah, be sincere.
The truth is that you are able to see somebody that cannot hide from you. See, your parents can hide from you because especially when you grow up with your elder sister, your parents can hide from you. They know what they've done wrong. When you are growing up with your sister, you're able to see her changing. You're able to see who she was, changing deliberately. You're able to. Let's move on. I'll get the word.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a very personal question. When you began to know the stories, when Momsi started telling you about the stories of my abuse, the molestations and all of that. What did that do to you first, towards our parents, and then viewing me?
Well, I think for me, I would say that I have been part of a properly orchestrated timeline.
What does that mean?
In other words, that if I hadn't met some people virtually or physically, learned from them, that knowledge would have changed me negatively. For example, I'd met. You took me to Daystar like 1999. So I listened to Reverend Sam a lot. I read a lot of Higgins books on love. And that knowledge met a proper ground. And it made me understand that there's a reason why I am here.
And what's that reason?
The reason is that you were available for somebody to say what he couldn't tell somebody else. And you are patient enough with what you had inside of you to wait for the next person to want to talk about it. See, you can just hear from Momsi and go, but you have to be patient enough.
Yeah, because you didn't tell me until 2021.
Yes. So was this person ready to talk about this? Anybody that cannot keep sensitive information has not found who they are in life.
Repeat that again for good measure.
No, I'm just saying, if you cannot keep
measure.
sensitive information to yourself, you've not found who you are in life.
If you cannot keep sensitive information, you've not found who
because
you
information I read the Bible a lot. Information is what God uses to change dimensions. It's what God uses to change time. It's what God uses to change the evolution of man. So, for example, you look at Jacob's mother. She was informed. She knew what God had said. But she knew what she had to do. If you look at Joseph, people always look at the information Mary had. But the information Joseph had was more delicate.
Jesus' father,
yes.
Earthly father, yeah.
Jesus' earthly father. So information is important. But for me, I think I just give that to the people God directed me to meet. Before I don't want to, Reverend Sam, Kenneth again. For me, the other part was also somebody from school that I met. Of course, I don't think you. His name is Apostle Fabumi, and I learned also from him that you cannot afford to. I've missed my timing once, It's part of growing up. But for me, I learned that when you know something, you have to wait. So So when you say how did that information affect?
Yes, the relation, how you saw Popsy and Momsy, and then how
so for example,
you saw me.
Yes. So now, with the knowledge that was in me, I started to have compassion for both parents. Because I felt it's possible. One person was angry, but tradition couldn't make him do what he felt he
should have done.
And one person was angry because she felt
she spoke up, and tradition did not allow the other person to act. Yeah,
I began to see early enough. How comes you know it? I began to see early enough that these people needed to see a part of God through me that they've never seen before. And that is why.
Is that why he called you apostle?
I don't know.
Okay.
So that is why there's some reactions I just I kind of saw why. And if you were saying for you, I began to, you will notice I began to get closer.
Mm-hmm.
So you would understand that. Eventually, when I told you, you understand that knowledge, how will I say it? You understand that even when God knows, it's just like when God knew that Adam had eaten the apple, he didn't come to the garden because he hated them. He came because he knew. And he knew that, no, this is not the end. This person is still fantastic. I know who this person is. So that's why I'm saying that. So when Momsi was telling me something, I was like, no problem. She's taking care of her. I would get closer. Try to see what we can do. And when I say what we can do, spray.
Okay, so because I know that towards my mid teenage years and all that, I was a very silently rebellious child. I loved my brother. Everybody knows that, but that withdrawal, because I know I was, before we lost each other and all that, but that withdrawal from the family, because I felt like, of course, there was a time I was not even living at home. I was living in Ikoton. Mm-hmm. Did that withdrawal affect you in any way?
Yes, typically, because you see, for I want to use the exact word, for alignment, you need to you parents must understand the responsibilities their children have in the family. I don't want to say responsibility is not strong enough. I think a simpler word is better. Yes, role. If you take out the first child in a family, for example, for a while, the younger ones, no matter how close they are going to lose alignment. For example, there are some things that I felt that you will have noticed earlier than Mama Agba again. That will have helped even in development. See, for example, if you trying to see if I can look for an example, because memory is big for me. I have a lot of this memory.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that I can remember you wrote me a letter once. I was in SS2. That was the first letter I wrote. Normally you write to Yano. So the first letter I wrote was about, I can't remember. I have that letter. It's upstairs. It's upstairs in this house. It should be in that room. It's not like my room, but
yeah.
And I told somebody beside me, oh, my sister wrote that I'm never going to throw it away. So it's alignment. You maybe the word is not coming to me, but let's continue. We can come back.
All right, so it's very conservative with words, as you can see. But hey, I think I get it. You were affected, so there was some misalignment. That period that I was withdrawn and I was not living in the house and all of that. So all of this, because the title of this podcast, when we're talking about it, she said was going to be God, Life, and Jollof Rice.
Yes.
God, Life, and Jollof Rice. So, how? Because if there's anything that they gave to us, if there's anything that Mama Baba gave to us, was faith. It was faith. Even when they didn't understand it, when they didn't understand how I particularly navigated faith. So, what would you say? How would you say that faith played a role in our upbringing, knowing the kind of church that we were born into? It was a white garment church, but it was not Saleh, it was not Kerubu. It was not CNS. It was a Methodist. Well, originally he was a Methodist church that had that was Aladurad, that had a bit of Methodist doctrine and a bit of cherubim and seraphim doctrine, not select. Yeah. All right. So, and then all of us navigating towards
Pentecostal.
Pentecostalism, and then eventually finding our path in life and all that. What would you say is the greatest gift that faith, or how we're brought up with faith, is affected you or change your perspective? But like, no, I think everybody that is listening now, you see, but speak.
But you see, for faith is more of the seed than the structure. For faith is more of the seed than the structure. You get. That's why I feel that even that church, I feel they were a bit more sincere about the Bible than most.
Oh yes,
now.
Oh yes.
And
we can't take that away.
yes.
We can't take that away from that.
You let me give you an example. You hardly find a child that was attending that church between the age of 1 and 10 that didn't know the Bible properly.
Yeah.
So I felt for that was the word of God for me. The problem with people that try to twist the word of God is that you can't twist it. It's just like it's a seed. God's seed is not dynamic. It is what it is. You cannot twist it. If you tell a child that Jesus came to die for his sins and everything, and you tell yourself you are Jesus, it's your business. The seed is already there.
Gotcha.
The seed is already there. So I think but I won't lie to you. For me personally, I think without faith, and when you're talking about faith, I think you're talking about walk with God. Without that, I think that I think I would have been a proper atheist. Would have been a different me totally. For me, faith helped me navigate almost every stage
All the
of my
craziness.
life.
The craziness.
Because I was able to understand early. So, for example, from there to Winners to Pastor Praise, getting involved in church stuff, singing in church and all. Faith for me shaped properly.
Okay, so for clarity's sake now, to everyone who's listening, for clarity's sake, yes, we believe God through Christ, but when we say faith, just like he said, we're speaking about your relationship with God and how that helps navigate. And I've said it 1,000,001 times everywhere I have, that my faith is one of the reasons I can stand despite the horrors, the interesting stories of my life.
It's a relationship. It's something that we eventually reflect. What do I mean? He's going to reflect. You would know. There's a tree just behind us here. The seed is there. The tree doesn't look like it, but the fruit looks like the seed. The fruit looks like a seed. It's just going to be once there's a relationship with God, once you are working with God, eventually, I mean, let's not turn this on.
All right, so let's move on. As a family, how do you think? Now, this is you speaking as the last born. Like you said, it's a privilege. As a family, looking back now, how do you think we handle challenges, especially from those who were extended by birth, by blood, and how do you think that we handled that as a family, and how has that impacted us or you now that our parents are no longer here.
You have to. Both of us will have to agree that we didn't handle it properly most of the time. And like I would. Well, I want to use the exact word. You can put on his mic now and beat me.
Use the exact word. Don't worry, I won't beat you.
But I would say that moving away from handling it with anger to conversations was the game changer.
Yeah.
And like anger anger is like that chapter of a dysfunction. It's one of the things you don't know that it's there, but it's there. So when something comes to call it out, it comes out. I'm not saying that human beings shouldn't get angry. What I mean is, but for us, we addressed it with anger, and some of us were angry and expressed our anger verbally. Some of us were angry and expressed our anger with lifestyle. Some of us were angry and expressed our anger with
silence.
Yeah,
and with withdrawal.
So you have to. It's the way you react to it, and when we now eventually started talking and discussing and having sincere conversations, you begin to see that even though some people wouldn't accept, they knew. They knew that this wasn't the best setup. And in terms of talking about reaction, you cannot blame somebody for their reaction sometimes. Sometimes you might say it's unfair because somebody can treat somebody fairly. That same person can treat somebody in a proper way. And that same person can treat somebody badly. It's the same person. Those three people are going to react differently. There's nothing you can. So you can't say no because this person treated me well. This person that is reacting this way is wrong. You can't. So what can happen is that you can have a conversation and be sincere. Oh no, this I know this person. Oh, that, and of course, as a younger person, some conversations are not in your place. Some conversations are for opportune times, as a last born. So you wait for which is one thing about me. I never miss an opportunity to say what I've been waiting to say. Not that I'm putting things in my mind, but I'm supposed to still say this thing. I'm going to wait for the opportunity. She might not like the way I will say it, but I know that word needs to get to her. I might not tell Budakrede this, but I'll wait for the opportunity. So for me, that's how I navigated it. I want to tell this man this thing, but this man, for example, Bagba might understand something better when you're angry.
Unfortunately, that is the truth.
So you might not understand something.
Let's for what you just said. Now let's just unfortunately, Daddy would only respond to you when you are angry.
So when for example, when for example, you're navigating with people, when for a last born, you need to navigate that way. Any last born that listen to me, this is me telling you, navigate with opportunity. See, for example, the time I wasn't feeling too well, and I needed to go to the hospital. But I was like, no, use so and so. I don't want to call, the one is made in Israel and one is made in Egypt. But anyways, and so he brought there's plantain. I said, I'm not eating plantain. Immediately, I'm not eating plantain. And I shouted. You say, you know what? Yeah, one motto. That was also, So that was just to get an
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not eating plantain is for Bisolu. I'm not eating plantain is code for I'm dying. I'm dying. It's code. What's code for I'm dying? So let's talk about that for a moment. I like the fact that, and like I said, it was going to be reflective for me because there's a lot of perspectives that I don't have. Because there was a time I actually chose to shut down, because there was too much pain going on, and I just needed to shut down to find myself. So, my question: let's talk about grief for a moment. This family has known a lot of that, a lot of that, a lot of that. Some of them you don't know. Of course, you didn't meet Tumladi, but I remember when Tumladi died, and how I responded to that. And for me, being an only girl in a house full of boys, it was, and the fact that we didn't necessarily grow up with a man. He loved me, but a girl child, no. He was like, no. I felt like I was navigating a world full of unspoken expectations. I didn't have any. I didn't even know what my expectations to life was. That's the truth. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to study. Because there was no one who was guiding me. So in some ways, I became extremely reflective, and I'm sure you guys, the three of you, including Leanna, noticed that someone is like, okay, if I'm not going to get this, if I'm not getting this kind of feedback, emotional feedback, and from my parents and all that, I'm going to give it to my brothers. And I literally poured myself into the three of you. I felt like I must hold things together. I felt like, I must be the one to understand everyone's needs, including parents. And that was a lot for me at some point. But you see, losing Iyanu, it made it extremely heavy for me.
I agree.
And you were closer. Funny enough, I wasn't in Lagos when you were not in Lagos either.
In Lagos.
You were in Lagos. Korede saw him a day before. I spoke with him a day before. I didn't see him. I saw him last September the 6th, 2004, and he hugged me and he was like, "Auntie Michelle, you know what was going to happen?" I'm like, of course, I didn't know then what he was saying, but he did say his goodbyes. How losing Iyanu affected all of us. Every single one of us. He was 18, he was already going to uni and all that. Every single one of us. But I've only spoke of myself. Korede is quite quiet about it, and you're also quite quiet about it. Except last year when I saw you, like something about Mr. Paul, you don't play music anymore. He said music died the day Iyanu died. So how did losing Iyanu, and did you think that we navigated it well as a family?
See, navigating it might not really be the conversation, because let me just talk about myself.
Talk about yourself. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, talk about yourself.
I was around, so I was able to take everything in. I think I was on my long GSS3 long holiday, so I know. So, anyways, for me personally, I think it was a defining moment for me, my work with God. So defining, I think that night that Iyanu died was the first time would I say God comforted me, because I knew. All of us knew, because I came out of the house, Brackett stood up.
I don't know whether I
And
ever
he
told
said-
you. When I was in Makudi, and I told Bukola, my friend, I said my brother just started.
He said, Kilo, Chele, Parakolosun. You know that way he said. And he just was just waiting. So as soon as we saw Popsy coming in, Popsy just told him some things, that he had to go and do the burial and all. So for me personally, I felt that, and I haven't been because I've been listening to, I don't want to say, no, I won't say that. It's not true. But I've been taking faith in God then as a baby Christian, which is the way to take it anyways. But I think some things totally stopped, when that happened. I stopped. You wouldn't know, but I used to play the bass guitar in secondary school. I used to play the drums. I used to play the conga.
I knew about the drums. I didn't know about the bass guitar. I knew about the conga thing. Yeah.
I was in the school band. At least almost everybody was in the school band for parade. I could play the flute properly. But I just told myself that I'm going to drop all this and just, I focus on the things that I felt
mattered.
Because if somebody could do all this and the person could still die, then this thing
did you question
wasn't
God?
taken. I don't know. That's like I said. See, for me, proper orchestration for me. Maybe God felt that this thing happened without this guy knowing some things. I would have been gone. If anything made me question God, must have been Momsy's death. Not Tiana's. Because Momsy's death, I felt that. I said I knew then that God could answer my prayers, and I felt that because for me, for her, there was a time that yes, she was dying, and this is long before then. We're still not accommodated, and I prayed she came back.
Even when I think 2 weeks before she died.
So it's 2 days.
2 days before she died, she died, and then she asked, "Why she bring me back?"
I was praying. She came back, and she was telling me that it was so peaceful. And so, for me, that was what. But for Ihami's own, really, number one, I stopped.
You stopped
instruments.
That part, yeah. That
totally.
part
I've tried. In fact, I always tell Fabi, I'm going to buy a guitar this year. I'm going to buy a violin this year. But
maybe you should. Maybe that should be maybe you should.
I think I would. Just that the lessons. Nah, $1 is a collection.
Well, your older brother is a teacher.
Yes.
So for me, what Yanulua did for I didn't start watching movies again until last year or 2 years ago. Because, of course, he was going to study mass communication, and we had conversations about, how we're going to have this big studio that was going to be in the family name and all of that. And I stopped. I just stopped.
For me, on the flip side, I was in the same school. So see, going back to school.
How was that for you? But then he had already graduated.
No. See, it was. How will I say it now? If you, like I said, if you see Baba Bastria, you would know. So we were quite similar with our reactions, whatever in school. We looked alike and stuff. So it was a child prefect.
Yeah.
And I was already on my way to being a child prefect. So the expectations were not difficult to replicate. We're very similar. But she gets into school, then everybody's asking, what happened? And I'm not a chatty person.
Yeah.
So, on my use, I just thought of 2 lines that will satisfy everybody.
Which one?
It was sick, it happened. It was sick. So I just thought of, I wasn't going to talk to anybody about it because, now I have a perspective that nothing is really everybody's business. Even what I'm saying now. People are in my business. So for me, I think what Amagba's death took from me was I stopped being adventurous. Fabi complains about it a lot. I stopped taking risk totally. 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 But I think I've started learning to take it. But I just felt that if I felt then that if I was to take less risk, then I'll be more,
Ready for whatever life brings. And with that, we've come to the end of the first part of this conversation with Bisalu. I hope you join us again next week when we bring the concluding part. We start on faith, and of course, we've talked about grief and all other things, so many other things that I'm sure you're going to learn from. Follow us on socials, mindfully to Michelle. And of course, you can send a mail that is just attached to the description note here, or fan mail, what you think we should be doing better, or what you want us to talk about, what you think are the questions around around mental health conversations that we're not having and we should be having. Remember, mental health, or having a wholesome mental perspective to life, is aligning the thoughts in your head, the emotions that come up in your heart, and with your behavioral patterns. Are they properly aligned with the vision of you that you see every time that you wake up, or that you're projecting to be? So take care of your mental well-being. I am Uluwatumishi Oladakbo Kuku. Love yourself, love your neighbor, love your country. Above all of this, love God. He is the essence of your being.